highly trained, equipped with the best weapons, experts in stealth and combat. This US Special Forces unit is about to eliminate a small, lightly defended Russian checkpoint. The mission, simple. The outcome, all but guaranteed. And these are the defenders. A handful of conscripts who signed up for a paycheck and some free boots. One of them is pretty sure he left his stove on back home.
Wait, what?
Whilst the other is trying to figure out how to reload his rifle. Suddenly, and without warning, shit hits the fan. But, against all logic, against all military strategy, the checkpoint holds. The Russians, through sheer dumb luck, blind fire, and possibly divine intervention, have achieved the impossible. This elite US force has been wiped out by a mere bunch of conscripts. A true underdog story for the ages. From this day forward, these men will be known as the checkpoint heroes. A tale of bravery, resilience, and... or perhaps not. And that is the kind of chaos you can create with Game Master mode in Arma Reforger. Want to control the battlefield, script the most ridiculous scenarios, or just smite random soldiers with lightning? Let me show you how. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I've shared a few tutorials lately of boots on the ground conflict mode, but we're diving into something today that I haven't really touched on before, Game Master mode. Before we jump into that, however, I do just want to take a quick moment to say a huge thank you to all of my subscribers. We're now over 3,000, which is just absolutely mind-blowing. I'm so grateful for every single one of you, and I look forward to the journey ahead. Also, if you did miss it in my recent post, I have recently launched my own Discord server for the community. It's a place where we can all come together and share our love for FPS games and build a friendly, supportive group. So if you haven't already joined, come and join the Crispy community. The link will be in the description below. Alright, back to what you came here for. Let's talk about Game Master mode. So, what exactly is Game Master? Well, as you probably gathered from that intro, it's a mode where you get to basically play God. You have full control, you can spawn AI, give them commands, adjust the weather, place buildings and vehicles. Basically, the possibilities are endless. It's also perfect for creating custom scenarios and battles. If you've watched some of my previous videos with the Oz Milsim group, you've seen that all of the operations we do are run by some incredibly talented and creative game masters who craft some awesome missions and scenarios. On top of that, you can use Game Master mode in many different ways. You can choose to be an active participant in the scenario, adding challenges or helping out the guys on the ground, or you can just simply use it as an admin cam to keep an eye on things and let the situation play out organically. So, how do you access Game Master mode? Well, there are a couple of ways to get started. First, if you want to play with others, you'll need to join a Game Master server in the multiplayer menu. Once you load in, you can then start a vote to become the Game Master. Alternatively, you can host your own server in various sizes and give yourself GM status anytime you want. But let's not run before we can walk. Before we jump into random lobbies and just start spawning a ton of AI, we need to actually learn how to be a Game Master. A great way to practice and get familiar with the tools is by jumping into offline mode. You can access this through the play option in the menu, and it's a fantastic way to learn the basics and experiment with the mechanics, all without the risk of annoying other players, purely for the fact that you don't know what you're doing. When we first load into the scenario, not much is going to be happening. We'll start by opening the Edit Scenario Properties tab, where we can assign a playable faction for our players. In this case, we'll set the United States as a playable faction. You might notice some settings in my game that you don't have, which is due to the mods that I have enabled. However, the core settings in the vanilla version will be the same. With the playable faction set, we can then look at other settings such as whether supplies are going to be required for our players. In GM mode, supplies are often unnecessary because the focus is more on immersion rather than managing supply runs. But of course, you might prefer a different setup for your scenario. Next, we can set the time of day. You can choose from predefined settings or make slight adjustments. For this scenario, I'll set it to morning around 6:30 AM, right as the sun is rising. We can also select what we want our weather conditions to be, so we can make the scenario even more immersive. We can have a nice clear sunny day, or we might choose to have it pissing down with rain, or a thick blanket of fog across the fields. It's really up to you and how you want your scenario to run. Once we're happy with our settings, we can exit the scenario properties. Now over on the left hand side, you'll see the playable faction that we just set up. The next step is to add a spawn point for our players. You can opt for a simple, generic spawn point, or you can select a building such as a command post or encampment, which comes with built-in spawn points, making it a more immersive experience for our players. Now we need to start by finding a suitable location for our base. I've selected this area just east of the airfield. It offers plenty of space, allowing us to design a base that fits our needs. You'll notice that there's small, medium and large circles around the area, and these are called slots. They indicate where we can place buildings that are appropriately sized for that slot. Of course, you can place buildings anywhere you like, but using the slots is an easy way to get started. If we double click on a slot, we'll see a list of available options. For instance, on the large slot, we can place a living quarters. If you prefer to build more freely, we can do so by opening the entity browser, and here we can turn on various filters that help us find specific items. Once we find what we need, we can place it wherever we like. For example, I'll place a machine gun nest on the corner of the building, overlooking the adjacent field. As I mentioned earlier, some buildings come with built-in perks that allow you to spawn there, like command tents or encampments for example. This means that when a player spawns in, they'll appear right in the middle of the base that we've just built, making the environment feel more immersive and realistic. Once we're happy with the setup, we can use the respawn menu in the top left to test everything out. Now that we've got our base and playable factions sorted, let's move on to creating a scenario for our players. But before we dive into that, it's a good idea to save our progress in case we need to revert back later on. To do this, you can click the save icon in the top banner, or alternatively you can click the save as button to give your file a custom name, making it easier to find. Next, we need to create some enemies for the players to face. We'll keep it simple for now and just set up an enemy base for them to attack. We'll place this base east of the US base in the town of Beauregard. This location is ideal because there's plenty of space to build structures, plus numerous buildings that will provide perfect close quarters combat. Let's start by adding some enemy structures, just like we did for our own faction, using the slots option or the entity browser. Once these are in place, we can add checkpoints along potential routes the players may use, or we can add machine gun nests to cover open fields. To plan the best locations, you can zoom out in the camera mode to survey the area. This will help you visualize the possible player movement and where to place key enemy positions. Once we're happy with our setup, it's time to place down some enemy AI. We'll start by adding them to the checkpoints, and for each checkpoint we'll only need a few soldiers to man the positions. To do this, you can browse through the individual categories and place down a couple of riflemen. You can hold Control and left click to place multiple of the same unit at once, which can save you some time. After placing the AI, we'll need to give them some orders. Along the bottom banner, just above the entity browser, you'll notice several options for issuing commands. The move command, which means the AI will run to the designated location. Forced move, which means that the AI will move to the location, ignoring anything that's going on around them in the meantime. Relaxed move, meaning the AI will move at a slower patrol pace to the location. Search and destroy, which means they will search an area and clear it of enemies. Defend, meaning they will stay put and defend a certain location. Get in, which means the AI will enter a vehicle or other entity. Get out, which is obviously the opposite to the previous command. And finally, suppressive fire, which means the AI will lay down suppressive fire to a given location. For each checkpoint, we'll assign them the defend command, meaning that they'll stay put defending that location. Next, let's add some fire teams to the larger checkpoints, those with the bunkers and the MG nests. Once again, we'll give them the defend command, and the AI will automatically man the machine guns for you, so you won't need to give them the get in command. Next, we'll focus our attention on the main operating base by adding some larger squads and vehicles. For the larger squads, we'll assign them the defend command, and they'll interact with the various structures we've placed down, such as the living quarters, until, of course, an enemy threat arrives. Additionally, we can place a few soldiers to man the BTR we've just spawned. We can either do this by using the get in command, or we can just simply drag them directly into the vehicle. Whilst our AI can get in all vehicles, do keep in mind that they can't currently fly helicopters, and if you want helis to be involved in your game, they'll need to be player controlled. Alright, let's turn things up a notch. We can give our BTR a patrol route to make its movements a bit more dynamic, rather than having it just sit there at the base. To do this, we can use the move command, and if we hold control and left click, we can place multiple move commands along the route, before giving them a final defend command at the base. Just bear in mind that although the AI can drive, they are pretty bad at it, so you'll have to keep an eye on them, and sometimes you may need to correct the route. Now our enemy base is really starting to take shape. Let's just add one final touch, a rifle squad to patrol through the forests. We'll give them the relaxed move orders, directing them to patrol to the area before having them to return to the base and defend. Once that's done, be sure to save your progress. This way, if you need to make any adjustments later on, you can easily rewind back to the save point and tweak things. Now let's give everything a quick test run by clicking play and making sure it's all working as intended. And like I mentioned, the BTR is driving like my nan. So let's cancel their orders and just have them defending the base on standby. Now that everything's set up, we'll need to create some objectives so that our players know what they need to do. To access these objectives, you can select the playable faction on the bottom left hand corner and select a predetermined objective. I'll set several objectives, but keep in mind that players can complete these tasks in any order. So if you want them to follow a specific sequence, it's best to set the new objective only after the previous one has been completed. The predefined objectives such as seize, defend and move will automatically complete once the players fulfill them. However, if you want to set custom objectives such as stealing or destroying a vehicle, you'll need to manually mark these as complete yourself. With our objectives in place, here's what the players will need to do. Firstly, they'll seize the small Russian outpost as the first task. They'll then move to the enemy main operating base, where they'll need to capture the location, destroy a manned BTR, and destroy the helicopter. Once those tasks are done, we'll issue a move command to send them back to the main operating base to mark the mission as complete. And now, this is the part where you can watch all the action unfold. Whether you're on a public or private server with real players, or just in offline mode with AI. What's even better is that you can take control of any AI character, whether it's an enemy or friendly unit, whenever you feel like it. If you're tired from watching from above, you can choose to get involved in the action on the ground, decide whether you want to heal certain players, set vehicles on fire, or just let nature take its course. The possibilities really are endless, and it all comes down as to how creative you want to be. So I hope that this guide has given you a solid understanding of how GM mode works, and how it can help you create some epic scenarios for you and your friends to enjoy. As always, thank you so much for watching, I hope you had fun, and as always, keep it crispy. I'll see you in the next one.